Good morning, good afternoon, or as Alfred Hitchcock would say, good evening. Whatever time you happen to be chiming in to listen to this conversation below the surface, this mindful moment, this point of the day. Welcome. Glad that you've decided to join in, whether you're listening just to the audio on my podcast or whether you're watching the video on YouTube or whatever platform you're choosing to listen to. Thank you for taking a minute to take a listen and give ear to this piece. I call this conversation theme quality of life. Tell you why. I've lived long enough to have experienced more than just a few people, some friends, who have said to me they were experiencing cancer. Let me tell you that. And they said, if I have to take chemo again, I'm not going to take it. They've said basically that the cure is worse than the condition. They said that they would rather have a quality of life, whatever that needs to be, however that looks. They would rather have a quality of life than go through an experience that causes them to have more discomfort and lose a quality of life than to deal with the condition that they're having. That's a pretty serious statement to make. Now, fortunately, I haven't had to make that kind of decision, but sometimes there are conditions that happens in a person's life where the cure is worse than the condition that they're experiencing. And we, sitting on the outside of that, do not sit high enough to pass judgment on somebody else as to what they should do. Of course, unless you're talking about a child or someone who is not competent to make decisions because of some kind of cognitive decline or something like that. But under normal conditions, we don't sit high enough to pass judgment, but oftentimes we do. I don't see why he shouldn't take this treatment or why he wouldn't do that. Why would he or she do that to their family? And there's some occasions where the cure is worse than the condition, and they're choosing a quality of life. So, of course, the first thing that stood out for me when I heard that, and I heard it again recently, um, was that serious if it's medical. But what about some other areas of life where that same thing is true? Like a person on a job and they're complaining constantly about, I don't like the people at the job and I don't like what I have to do, and constantly complaining about the job. The cure is to leave, but the cure is worse than the conditions of the job because maybe leaving means being unemployed for a period of time. Maybe it means not being able to take care of your family. Maybe it means not having insurance that you need to have. And maybe the only thing they're comfortable doing is complaining about it because the cure is worse than the condition. And the cure might be leaving and creating a whole new set of circumstances that they're just not comfortable with. Again, we don't sit in a position where we are qualified to pass judgment on somebody else's cure or condition because we don't know a lot of times what's behind the scene, what the rest of the story is, why they've had to make that decision. We just don't know. And I mention that because we're in a society, in a time where we are made to be judges, pass judgment, click like, dislike, vote for this, vote for that. This one is better than that. Where we start to think that we are in a position to pass judgment and let our opinions be the law for somebody else's life decisions, which can make their day to day struggles even worse because of our attitude. What about people in relationships? Do you know someone who's going through something and it's a difficult situation, and you may have heard people say, and you may have even said yourself, well, I don't know why she doesn't just leave him, or why doesn't he just leave her, or why are they staying in that relationship? I don't see why they're still there. Maybe the cure is worse than the condition. Maybe the cure for the experiences they're having in that relationship is to leave, to get away from it. But getting away from it means maybe being alone. Maybe they're not comfortable being alone. Maybe being alone is painful to them, more painful than what they're experiencing. Maybe being alone means, or separating from that relationship means being ostracized by the people who they have called their friends. You know how people post pictures about their relationship, how happy they are, social media, they're out to dinner and all kind of places. And maybe if they were to actually leave, then they would have to face their friends and family and say we're not together anymore, and that is too painful. Maybe it's too painful for them to go into the unknown, not knowing what the situation would be. Will they ever meet someone else? Will they ever be in a happy relationship? Maybe anything could happen that would make them feel bad about themselves, more so than staying in that situation. But we sit on the outside and pass judgment. Why don't you just leave? We don't know if for that person the cure is worse than the condition than they're going through. What about for us? Are we dealing with anything in our lives that we know what resolution would be? As a matter of fact, there's statistics that say that most people who are experiencing stressful situations are not experiencing stressful situations because they don't know how to resolve it, but they oftentimes don't have the courage to resolve it, or the resolution is too unpleasant for them to move into it. So they'd rather be in that stressful situation, stay there, and complain than do anything else. I don't know, is Shakespeare someone who says, I'd rather bear those ills that I have than fly to others that I know not of. Thus, conscious does make cowards of us all. So sometimes people don't even really want to look at what the solution might be and what the answer might be, because it means them doing something that's painful, that's uncomfortable, that's unknown. So the encouragement is to look for quality of life. We don't know how much time we've got. We don't know when we'll get the phone call, when the diagnosis may not come back what we want it to be, when the accident going to happen. We don't know when that suddenly, as my dear friend Big Bob used to say, that suddenly is going to happen, when something is going to occur outside of our set of expectations and put us in a situation where we have to choose between a cure or a condition. Then it's time, as it is right now, to consider what's a quality of life. How can we have the best quality of life right now? What do we need to do to stay in the best physical shape, so we have a quality of life physically, able to do what we need to do, have the energy to do what we need to do, to mentally stay at a healthy place, to morally be at a good place, to emotionally be at a good place, quality of life. What can you do to improve your quality of life? Because as we get older, if we're fortunate enough to live to old age, we're going to experience diminished quality of certain things. We may not be able to do or enjoy some of the things that we did enjoy, but we can find joy if we can manage to get a quality of life out of that. I have a cousin I was talking with just today, and she's always just as bright and bubbly and encouraging all the time. She's in a wheelchair. She's not able to comfortably stand on her own, but she is not complaining. She always is able. She said, "I just hope it doesn't get any worse, but as long as it's like this, I'm okay. I can be rolled around, or I can roll myself around." And even she says, when I can't sleep in my bed, I can sleep in my chair and it lets me back and I'm able to get some sleep. She's able to find a quality of life even in desperate situation. She's able to see differently. And it's said that when you change the way you look at the world that you look at starts to change, and the world becomes what we think it is. And so if we can look to extract and find the quality of life in anything that we're doing, it can be such a gift for us. Don't you know some people who are living well? They have many things going for them: cars, home, money, job, have all kinds of things, and they still complain. They seem, even with all the material things, not have a quality of life because something is missing here and in here in their heart. So, my encouragement is just to always look for something to find the quality, the bright spot in your life in the midst of it all, because sometimes the cure is worse than the condition. But you can always find a quality of life no matter what you're experiencing based on the way you look at the world. And I wish that for you. I wish it for me. And I wish it for all in our circle of influence. Till the next time, live well, travel well.